Welcome back, everyone. Happy Sunday. Also, happy Mother's Day, man. Shout out to all the moms out there handling business, taking care of their babies. They say that one good mother is worth more than 1,000 teachers. So, shout out to y'all, man. Mom, I love you. I wouldn't trade you for the world, and you're the best thing that's ever happened to me. So, today I want to get into something most people ignore until life smacks them in the face, right? And that's emergency funds, right? They're not sexy, they're not exciting, but they are mandatory if you want to get ahead. So let's paint a picture real quick. Imagine you lose your job, rent's due in a week, and your car's starting to give trouble. What you gonna do, right? How you gonna feel? If you don't got an emergency fund, you're gonna be real stressed out, right? And you not having an emergency fund not only means you're broke, but that leaves you extremely vulnerable. It leaves you in a situation where you could end up spiraling into debt. You could be panicking, which causes you to make bad decisions. So we're gonna break down what an emergency fund is, why you need one, and how to start one from wherever you're at, even if that's $0, right? So I want you to think of your emergency fund as your financial airbag, right? So it's a set of cash that you have set aside, saved up somewhere, whether it be in your house, whether it be in a high interest savings account. It's somewhere easily accessible to you, right? Just in case life throws you one of those oh shit moments. So I'm talking about things like an emergency visit to the dentist, or your car is broken down, or you lose your job, right? Things like that. So how much does one need in their emergency fund? In my opinion, ideally you need about 3 to 6 months basic living expenses, right? This gives you a little bit of breathing room just in case any of those emergencies happen, right? With that, you have a little bit of a peace of mind. Something y'all need to consider is that emergencies could happen to anyone at any time, right? Never think that it can't happen to you. For those of you who aren't close to me and don't know me, I'm a teacher, all right? I've been out of work since early April, so it's going on a month now. All right, I've been on a leave that is unpaid, and chances are I won't be getting back in the classroom until next September, which means I won't be getting paid until next September, right? It sounds crazy. Imagine going 3 or 4 months without getting a paycheck, right? What would that do to your mental health, right? Fortunately, over the last few years, I've built up my emergency fund enough that my lifestyle doesn't have to change too much within these next 4 months, right? I can still live life as I was living it before I stopped working, all right? So just take that into consideration, man. You got to save your money so your money could save you, right? That's the whole point of emergency funds. Had I not had money set aside for an emergency, I would be talking very differently right now. All right, my demeanor would be very different. My mental health would be very different. All right, so let's keep it a buck, man. Most people aren't broke because they don't make any money. When you take a look at people's financials, right, their earnings, a lot of people earn pretty good money. It's just that they're always reacting to situations without having an emergency fund, without having a buffer, or they're just spending their money stupidly on shit that they don't need. When you've got an emergency fund, you don't gotta depend on any high interest credit cards. You don't gotta depend on payday loans. You ain't gotta ask your family and friends for money, which puts you in a weird situation with them, right? When you have a little money stacked up, those so-called emergencies turn into just inconveniences. All right, so how do we start building a fund? All right, first thing that you're gonna do, you're gonna pick a number. All right, I don't necessarily want you to think about how many months of expenses you need. All right, just pick a simple number. A good number that you could choose would be $1,000, right? $1,000 is a significant amount of money for most people. Next, you're going to open up a separate savings account. This is an account where you're going to be depositing money into every time you get paid. Every time you have a little bit of extra spare change or spare money hanging around, you're throwing it in there. One of the most important concepts in personal finance is the idea of paying yourself first. So when you get a paycheck from your job, you take 15% of that and put it into that savings account, put it into your emergency fund, all right? You gotta save your money so it could save you. The next thing you gotta do is you gotta take a look at your spending. You gotta go through your your transaction history and look where and what you're spending your money on. I'm certain when you go through that list, you'll be able to find certain things that you can cut back on and certain things that you can eliminate altogether. All right, there's a lot of things that people spend their money on that they don't need, right? And that unnecessary spending is holding you back from building up that emergency fund. The last thing I recommend to y'all is when you hit your savings goal, when you hit your emergency fund goal, celebrate yourself, man. All right, it takes a lot of discipline, a lot of sacrifice, and a lot of consistency to reach certain savings goals, right? And you deserve to celebrate yourself because that shit ain't easy. I remember the first time I saved up $10,000. All right, I couldn't stop looking at my account because it was like, damn, I worked so hard and then worked so long just to get here. And it was a sense of relief. Like I looked at my account, I seen 1 followed by 4 zeros. It's like, damn, yo, this shit feel good. But automatically, I looked towards the next goal. My next target was 20K. And my next target was 25. Then it was 50, right? And ideally, that's what you want to aim to do, right? You want to keep moving the goalpost a little bit further, all right? This is one of those situations where moving the goalpost is okay. Right? Having an emergency fund isn't just about saving, right? It's about power, right? Having money set aside gives you the power to say no, right? It gives you the power to leave a job that you're not really fucking with. It's about being able to make decisions based on what you want your vision for your life to be versus fear. Look, life is gonna hit you, B. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And when life does hit you, and you've got that emergency fund in place, at least mentally you know you could take the hit and keep it pushing, right? This is about resilience, being able to withstand, being able to endure. Look, I just want y'all to know, all right? It's not necessarily about what you do or how much you make, all right? Although those are 2 important factors, what's more important is what you do with what you make, all right? I graduated university at 25, and it took me about 3 or 4 years to actually get into my profession, all right? And within those 3 to 5 years of just waiting to get into my profession, I made less than $50,000 each year, all right? But somehow, some way, in that time, I was able to crack the 100,000 net worth barrier, right? I made less than 50,000 every year up until last year, B. Right? So it just goes to show you it's not necessarily about what you make, right? It's about what you do with what you make, right? I made the right moves with the little money I had. And, you know, there's something called compound interest. And, you know, once you keep applying the knowledge and keep learning and keep getting better, right, your savings will pile up just like your knowledge piles up, right? So, yeah, that's my walk and talk for the day. So if you found any value from this, you know, like it, share it with someone who might take something away from this as well, and leave a comment, man. Let me know what your savings goals are, what your emergency goals are, and let's build towards those together. You feel me? So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and until next time.